3, 2, 1.
今夜もミュージック君へのラッキー笑い合って抱き合って幸せにほらなれるように
Hey guys.
Welcome everyone to this EWB, where we're watching a video that is going to make both of us upset.
So just so we know, you know how bad it is. I went to turn it on, put it in the watch together, and the moment it played, I screamed.
So okay. So this okay. So I think just some backstory. This video we've watched before in voice together, and I think there's nothing wrong with saying that, like, it actively upset both of us. Like, both of us legitimately were upset. It's dismissive and disrespectful to your second favorite manga?
It is my favorite manga, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if Bleach had passed it. But, so your favorite manga and my third favorite manga. And I think it's disrespectful in a way that doesn't even attempt anything. So we both will get very emotional in this episode at certain points. And get, like, just a disclaimer, we will be a little rude.
A little. So for backstory for me, because I'm the one who found this video. I found this video 2 years ago. And this is like after I reread Nisekoi or whatever, and there's a comment. I left a comment on this video. You can find it now. And let's just say I have never watched. Before last week, I had never finished this video. I would get 4 minutes in, and then just like leave. I would just get mad and leave.
Have to be done. Like, I can't listen to this anymore.
It's
this
very
heresy.
To be frankly honest, when we did the first EWB, that video was bad for, like, on all sides, but there was there at least wasn't, like,
I think that this is the first video that blatantly doesn't even try to understand one of its series. Like, it gives Nisekoi just like, for surprise. It gives Nisekoi no credit and assumes that everything it's doing is, like, it's doing maliciously because it doesn't care, and Naoshi Komi doesn't care about making a good manga.
He also, and then what's even arguably worse is in the process of doing so, the video then does not understand the show it's trying to elevate.
Yes.
It's a show that you'll either I'm just debating when to upload this.
I would say we should upload it after it has to be after the Nozaki-kun episode.
Yeah, so this is after the Nozaki-kun episode.
So this is why you were so, like,
irrationally
against
angry.
Nozaki, right? Against Nozaki when you recorded that episode, because this video actively made you like it less.
Well, I already didn't like it, but, like, just thinking about it it's at the point now where this video is maybe every time I think about Nozaki, I twitch a little bit. And go, no.
Right.
There is positives though. This video is the reason why I made the first Nisekoi video. A video that people are now telling this person to go watch in his comments, which is good. You know?
Yeah, we both have comments on this video, and our comments are very different in terms of their. We should talk about our comments afterwards. But
well, mine is 2 years old. Yours is a week old. So
2 days old.
Yeah. So
as of recording this, yeah.
Look, I'm gonna try to not be mean. It's gonna be hard. But we're going to get through it. Real quick, back on my point what I was saying. With every other EWB we've ever done before, there was at least, like, stretches of a sentence where it's like, you could see where they were coming from, but they were just wrong, right? They were like, there were aspects of they were wrong. This video, as you will find out by the numerous times we stop the video, it's almost as if every single sentence itself is just wrong. The concentration of wrong in this video is baffling. It's
more than just like he says, I don't like Nisekoi, and we're like, that's wrong. Nisekoi's good. It's like he says things that are objectively provably wrong.
Like, even with like Cross, right? Cross's video on Azoken, it came from a place of not understanding the medium, but there were still points in there where it was reasonable, and he tried to have evidence, and it was like, okay, I could see where you're trying to come from, but it's still wrong. This is just...
I mean, I think it's telling that Craft Store said that the only reason this isn't the worst video on YouTube is because it's not blatantly racist.
To which I also said he's 5 steps away from saying the Japanese just do this all the time and ruin their media. Like, literally a step. That was what...
But the fact that it's not racist and is Craft Store's almost worst video on YouTube, I think tells a lot for how what we're about to get ourselves into.
You want to start? I don't want to click the play button. I don't want to be the one who pulls the bullet. You pull the bullet.
Do it.
Despite being pretty different shows in general, Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun and Nisekoi are actually quite similar if you think about it. They're both rather popular shows, with both boosting MAL listings of over 300,000 people, set in high schools filled with genre trappings and character tropes, and even ran only one season apart.
Oh, sorry, I sent my back. Okay, so here's the first place I'm gonna stop it, and I'm gonna go first, and then I'll let you lose. So first of all, I've said before, I think that you can compare any two things as long as you find a good basis to compare them on, right? I think that a comparison should always be weighted by what you're comparing about them and why you're making that comparison. So I think that already, I wouldn't have had a problem with what he said if he hadn't just been like, people like it on MAL, and they both premiered in 2014. So that means they must be pretty similar, because they're set in a high school and have genre trappings. Like, first of all, don't ever use the word genre trappings, because that's terrible. Okay? If you want to use the word tropes, all of, Eastern media, so all of anime or whatever fucking JRPG or VN or manga, whatever the fuck you want to play or read or watch or whatever the fuck, all is gonna have the same goddamn tropes. Okay, they are tropes that are inherent to Eastern storytelling, and some of them are inherent to storytelling in general. Just the same way that you'll have a lot, like the hero's journey is like a Western story archetype. You have tropes and archetypes in Eastern media, so calling them genre trappings, first of all, is all and in a way that could make it seem like you're making fun of them or saying that they're bad, is you wouldn't say, oh well, this fucking Star Wars Episode 4 is bad because Luke has a hero's journey. That would make you sound like a fucking bumbling retard. But that's what he's saying. People don't know what they're talking about when it comes to anime. They're like, oh well, it's genre trappings because it's not what I grew up with in my fucking Western fucking whatever. I just hate when people get super on this high horse about, I recognize the tropes in anime and I don't think these tropes are very good. It's like, you should grow up.
Vindy, we only got 16 seconds in the video.
Alright, do you have anything to say, or did I soak it all?
I'm hyperventilating, bro. Oh, Jesus. Okay, let me try. Calm down. So, he goes, he says, he tries to, point out his own self-awareness, because, if you point out that you're self-aware, then it's okay. He says, if you think about it, they're pretty similar. And I mean, well, if you think about it, Mob Psycho 100 and Nisekoi are similar. Both take place in school. Both take place with characters who try to live in this world, in this world of fantasy. With Mob Psycho 100, it's people with psychic powers. With Nisekoi, it's them having idealized versions of people. Both of them are about this. Both of them took place in an anime season. It's like that, I could just do that for any. The level of comparison, okay.
Avatar: The Last Airbender and One Piece are the same show.
Look, based off of this is the thing, right? When
they're both popular, they're both on Netflix. They both recently got added to Netflix. They both have storytelling elements and a main character who has powers.
Oh, no, Jesus fucking shit. Okay, it's like, okay, when I compare things, if I were to compare Nozaki-kun, because you can, you know, if you were competent, you could. No. If you were competent, you could compare them, right?
Yeah.
Based off of, if you were like, okay, I'm gonna bullshit this off the top of my head. Nisekoi and Nozaki-kun are both stories about characters who wants to pull the trigger, but at every point are too cowardly to do so. So the story for both of them revolves around these characters trying to learn to, like, eventually close the distance and, like, see each other for, like, what they really are and grow to eventually just pull the trigger and just finally confess. That would be a more apt comparison than I saw them both on Mal and their scores are similar. They were a season apart.
I think you could even, if you didn't even want to, you know, because even if you wanted to, as this man clearly doesn't understand the point of Nisekoi, right? If you don't want to put that work in, you could just say, like, they are both romance stories that involve a large cast of characters, and are well regarded in the anime scene, right? Or are well known. Like you could make you could not go as deep into, like, the themes of the series, right? But the idea that they're both popular and we're one season apart, like, get real, grow up. That's
Vindy,
the worst comparison I've ever seen.
Hey Vindy, so I want you. Yeah. Did you know this is some fun information for you? Did you know that Re:Zero Season 2 and Haikyuu to the Top?
All right,
very similar.
We're playing this video because we've been recording for 10 minutes or 16 seconds. Of this video.
Okay, fine. I'll continue my point because he says the funny self-awareness line after this. Okay, go ahead, play it.
However, what stands out among these similarities as the most prominent is that both are known for their unwillingness to pull the trigger on the main guy and the main girl getting together and becoming a couple. Well, you may ask, isn't that just literally every single high school anime ever? Which is fair. Like 90% of high school romance anime are centered around the conceit that the couples take forever to form. The shows that are actually about functioning relationships that have already commenced or actually commenced during the middle of the show's run are far and away the minority.
Okay. So I'm actually going to click through some of these because I want to talk about some of these.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I don't know with Kimi no Todoke. I don't know how that one works.
I'll tell you that. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Okay, so
we're going to go over the shows he shows because some of these are blatantly wrong.
Yeah, so it shows that he only watches anime. This is the kind of person who literally only watches anime because Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches is a series, if you read the manga, that almost immediately after the events of where the anime ends, they get together. And
is there a long time after that where they are they're together?
Yeah. So the entire conceit of, like, the second part of the story is that he's together with her, but then more girls show up that he has to, like, you know, talk to and, like, break down their walls, and he's constantly, like, on edge because he's like, how's she gonna feel about this? And she's like,
okay,
you gotta do your job, dude. Just go.
Then there's Kimi no Todoke, which you also love.
Kimi no Todoke is a series where they get together at the end of the second season. In 36 episodes, they get together, and that's, like, less than halfway through the manga. My dude, what?
Okay.
Maybe one of the other girls gets in a relationship with another guy, like, even like a little bit after that, and the only one you're waiting for to pull the trigger is, like, the two side characters. What? Oh, and then there's Kyokai no Kanata, which isn't even, like, the relationship basically is implied happening by the end.
Okay. 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 So even if we're only talking about anime, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong on the numbers here. They get together on, like, episode 9 of the first season of Chunibyo, okay? They are holding hands in this image. In the image you are showing, they are literally together. They are holding hands. They get together on episode 9. There are 2 seasons.
Vindy.
There were 2 seasons when this video came out. So they've already been together for, like, okay, if you take both seasons, they are together more time in Chunibyo than they are. So why are you putting this as an example of a series where people don't get together? Yes.
He's using a season 2 visual.
Oh my god. That is because pink hair other girls there. You're right.
He's
Oh my
using a
God.
season 2
Oh my
visual.
God.
He didn't
Oh my
watch
God.
the
What the
show.
fuck? Oh
He
my
didn't
God.
watch the
Oh
show.
my God. Okay. Next is Toradora.
Toradora, they get together by the third quarter.
And okay, so I'll use Toradora the same way that I want to talk about Nisekoi here, because I do think that, like, you know, here's the thing that I guess he doesn't understand. The entire point of Nisekoi is that Raku is wrong, and that he shouldn't get together, and we will be repeating this a lot throughout this video. He shouldn't get together with Onodera, because they don't actually have real love for each other. So,
it's like I made a video about it that everybody should watch and that this person should watch because I basically spelled the point out for him.
So when the entire point of the video is that of the manga is that Raku is wrong and he should not be with Onodera, and the anime and manga both are making it clear that he is wrong for chasing Onodera and thinking that Onodera is the perfect.
Well, not even he's not even chasing Onodera. He's like in his mind saying that would be nice, and then rejecting all the other girls.
But like, that's also true because he even brings up later. Raku never really feels like he should confess to Onodera, right? He never really decides to take that step. He's never pursuing Onodera. He's just like, he likes Onodera and he's wants to be with Onodera. But like, the entire point of Nisekoi, and as you mentioned with Nozaki-kun, the point of Nozaki-kun is that these people aren't pulling the trigger and aren't taking that step. So you can't have them take that step before the end if that's the entire point of the series.
There's literally a panel that I have that I use in my video of Nisekoi where Marika is spouting out about how much everything that Raku has ever said to her in her life meant so much that she changed herself for it. And then Raku sits there and he hears it and he's like, those stupid little things I said meant that much to you? And he starts like feeling down about it. So it's like, holy shit, I've been holding you back this entire time. And that's like a common thread throughout the entire story, that Raku is holding these other girls like back.
Right.
And that the point of it is that in the final part of the story, he realizes he has to nut up and accept people's feelings for what they really are head on, because he's being a coward by like keeping them at arm's length.
Right.
But you should just fuck, right? In episode 1.
That's part of my problem with what he's saying is that, like, okay, when Raku's entire character arc is about like learning what true love is and realizing that he can't just like kind of passively live his life, right? He can't, like, that's what makes, okay, so I mean, should we make it obvious we're gonna spoil Nisekoi in this video?
Here's the thing. Let's wait for later on, because then he starts talking about like the actuals. He's
okay,
listen, in this video he spoils Nisekoi for everybody because he just flashes a panel on screen and then goes, haha, she win. It's like, it's all that's also shitty. So
I think not even like Raku's character arc is so good because the way that the way he lives his life outside of just romantically, it all ties together with the main lesson that Raku has to learn throughout the series. If Raku learns that lesson 5 episodes in, what's the point of the rest of the series existing, right? And if you're gonna say, oh, well, he should have done that, that's like saying, oh, well, in fucking One Piece, why doesn't Luffy just sail right to Raftel for fucking chapter 1 and just become the Pirate King right away? Like, you have to have some level of, like, why doesn't Naruto just become the Hokage in chapter 1? Like,
genre trappings, Vindy, are bad. Why doesn't Ed just
have to move? Okay, stories have to have a story there, and there is a story being told.
Listen. There's here. You guys want to pick the same like other shows that everybody talks about? Why doesn't Eren just go find out the basement in episode 1? Why doesn't Edward Elric bring back his brother's body in episode 1? Why doesn't Shinji just fucking nut up and become a tough guy in episode 1? Yeah, right? Like, no.
Why did Shinji start Ava depressed, dude? Like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, he could just be happy, haha. Like, are you just gonna, like, blatantly disrespect how stories are created and how stories work?
I'm also pretty sure you skipped over some, by the way.
No, I went back to where we were.
Okay.
Oh, no,
yeah,
no,
you did.
Oh, I did. Okay, do we want to go back? Sorry. I thought we were okay.
So go back. Yeah, play. Yeah, let it pause. Sakura no Pet no Kanojo is more so centered around the idea that these people are far more concerned with their own with their own creative exploits and their own goals become more more realized as artists than it is the romance. Like the romance is tied to it. So obviously, if they're not where they want to be in terms of their art and their skill and their status, why would they immediately just fall in love with these people if they're so tied? Like literally, the main character's entire arc is that he's at this school but doesn't know what he wants to do, and his entire like journey is to be like measure up to be as good as Mashiro, and he keeps fucking failing because he's a normal dude. You know, why would he just like it's funny to me when people talk about Sakura So too, because it's heavily implied that Mashiro is like kind of autistic. I remember that anime snob where somebody said he should have just fucked the autistic girl in episode 1 or took advantage of her, and I was like, holy shit, calm down. So like, I'm getting those vibes right now from this video. I'm getting those vibes from the fact that he's showing this, because I'm a little.
All right, let's.
Okay, well, this one they kiss, and the alien girl like.
I don't even know what this is. I don't know if I want to know. This does not look appealing.
It's Anohana but with aliens instead of Ghost Girl.
Oh no. Okay, Haruhi.
God.
Haruhi.
Oh my fucking god.
Where like again, the entire point of like the series, if you really want to look at it like that, is that Kyon is like a piece of shit and he's a little bitch and doesn't want to like admit the way that but even if you like, if we want to be real, Kyon kisses Haruhi in like episode 5 if you watch chronologically, right?
I can't take this shit. I'm losing. Oh my god.
And this is from Disappearance, which is an Elseworlds story where he doesn't even know Haruhi. Like, stop missing the point of the series because you want to see characters get together earlier in a romance.
I just want the characters to fuck in episode 1. Is not too much to ask?
Not everything is Bonoji. Or I assume they get together earlier in Ore Monogatari.
Bonoji, they get together by like chapter whatever, and then the entire point
they
of
get
the story...
together in volume 1, and then it's 3 volumes, and so it's about this 3-volume romance. And Ore Monogatari, they get together early on,
in episode 5. But the entire point of the story is that their relationship is disjointed and weird, and everybody thinks they're fucking stupid for doing it.
Right, and like that's the whole thing. Is like the point of those series is that the characters are together. You can't you have to look at series for what they are. And if the point of a series is that characters are not supposed to be together, you can't complain like, oh, well, these characters are together, and that's bad. You know? Like, that's not how things work.
Vindy, I bought my new Pokemon game, and I didn't start with the entire team of legendary Pokemon, so the game's bad.
Oh, you didn't start with the whole 99s in Pokemon, dude?
I didn't start with it. It was really fucking weird. I thought I returned the game, and I told the clerk, and the clerk said, "Are you stupid?" And then I punched him in the face and like gave Walmart a bad review.
Oh, that's unlucky.
What's the next one?
I haven't seen more High School Club, so I don't know.
I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind.
Explain to me. Tell me.
Ouran High School Host Club is just another shoujo romance where the whole point is that like she's more concerned with, trying to become something of herself and Ungabunga independent women.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're saying there are themes at play that he's not taking into
No,
account.
because I want her to get gangbanged by the cute boys.
I wonder if that's a theme that we'll see throughout this video.
I'm good.
Okay.
Rakaraki Shido Cavalry, they get together in episode 7, which is about the same, close to Chinibyo, which is really funny that he put this there, but not.
Okay.
Karekano. Fuck off with Karekano.
This is when he's talking about functioning relationships. So he says Karekano, Monogatari. Oh. And SAO.
Shad Kirito. Let's go.
You like the jab at SAO where he's like, yeah, SAO.
Yeah, SAO too. Ew.
When in SAO, like Kirito and Asuna's relationship is like actually one of the most well-known parts of the series.
No.
Like, even in the early seasons, it's one of the most well-known parts of the series.
No, listen. It's dumb, it's bad, it's SAO. You're not allowed to like it.
God, when are we gonna fucking go off on SAO haters and be like, SAO is Kino?
SAO is for Chads, though. Alright.
I think by going through those anime one at a time, I got most of what I meant to say about what you said.
We've systematically broken down every single one. If you want more details, just watch any video on any of these shows, and you'll see that he's wrong.
Or don't even watch the video on the shows. Just watch the shows or read the manga and like
even
use
better,
your fucking
read
brain.
the Wikipedia articles where they say, and then they got together, and then just
the plot synopsis on the wiki. I love it. All right, I'll keep playing now. Or do you have anything more to say about this section?
I don't ever want to.
None of this should come as any surprise, for this is a rather common and well-known trope in anime. Now, what makes Nozaki-kun and Nisekoi significant in the discussion of this anime trope is that they aren't shows that just happen to have couples that take forever to get together like Toradora.
So the way he's wording this, I don't know if it's clear to all of you, but it sounds like he thinks these stories are real people, where they happen to not get together because they just happen to be people. But the point of Toradora is that, like, they are terrible people and they have to get past their own, like, terribleness to be functionally individuals. And,
well, like, okay,
like
sorry,
it takes literally Taiga forever, because Taiga fucking has this entire thing where she hates her dad and doesn't trust anybody, and it takes her fucking 16 episodes before she realizes that she needs Ryuji, when one of the greatest moments in all of anime. But, like, you know, they just happen to not be together. They just happen to. The writer for Toradora fucking just slapped her pen on the table a couple times. Was like,
every chapter of the light novel, she just fucking flips a coin. She's like, are they getting together? I guess not. It's fucking duty. She's rolling a d20. She's like, when I hit a crit, they get together.
No,
like,
she held the pen on the paper. She twitched a little bit. Her whole body went, and then, like, she looked at the paper and saw what happened, what she wrote down. She's like, oh, they're not together yet.
Like, this is what I hate about fucking terrible fucking people, is like, they don't assume that, like, man, stories are created with narrative intent. And maybe nobody's going to write a story that they want to be bad. So if something's not happening that I want to happen, maybe there's a reason. And maybe if I actually looked at it and looked at what the story was doing thematically and, like, what the point of the story was, maybe what I want isn't what the story is trying to be. And it's fine to not like a story for what it's trying to be, but to say that a story is bad because it's not what you want is brain dead and retarded.
You want to know how I know he didn't actually watch any of these shows too? Is because he says what makes Nisekoi different from these other ones. I'm like, factually no. If you watch, if you read Kimi ni Todoke, it's similar to Nisekoi in the fact that these characters are too afraid of confronting their own feelings and just accepting these things head on about it. If you watch fucking, if you watch fucking Monogatari is also an entire story about these people, like Araragi is just fucking, you know, his whole deal, and all these characters can't trust anybody, you know. They have fucking it's just, if you've ever read a romance series in your life, you know that this is how they work. It's about characters who don't get together because they're afraid of confronting certain things about themselves or each other, and it doesn't happen until they confront that aspect of themselves.
You know what's so funny? What? You want to know what's so fucking funny?
What?
In this man's editing, he used a clip from, I assume it's an Nisekoi OP, but I'm not sure. It might be an ED. Where they Raku and Onodera are about to kiss and Onodera falls over. And I don't know about you, but maybe there's some symbolism for what Nisekoi is about in that little clip he used in his fucking video.
A weird thing you'll notice about this man is that he also, you know, that he's never written a story before in his life. Because he assumes that things his wording, they just happen to not be together. He assumes that stories just happen to be a way instead of a writer doing it on purpose.
I also want to point out this man is a Nisekoi Abby. I just want to say that. I'm not going to say any more about it. But I do want to point that out, that this man's avatar on YouTube is Ruri from Nisekoi. I'm not going to say anything more about it, but I wanted to make that known.
No, it gets better because he says something later on that highlights why he likes Ruri. And it's also really shitty because he also doesn't understand Ruri. But let's keep going.
Okay.
But rather, they are shows that seek to play up this aspect to 11. Nozaki-kun's central conceit and strongest running gag is that the two will never get together, while Nisekoi's main draw and reason for its huge fan following is its constant flip-flopping of which girl will end up with the main guy.
Okay, so let's just be honest right fucking now. If you read the first volume of Nisekoi and you don't understand why and how he's going to end up with Shihoge and how that is the point of the story, you didn't understand Nisekoi, okay? Because it's there from the beginning. So how can someone sit here and be like, the appeal of Nisekoi is the concept? Okay, what? As we said earlier, right? Nisekoi is your favorite manga. It's my third favorite manga. We would both consider it a 10 out of 10. I would say it is a near perfect story, okay? Is the appeal for you the constant flip-flopping of what girl he's going to end up with?
Well, my appeal of the story, me as someone who likes it, I like it because I really like all of the characters and how they all interact and how they all come to terms and grow and how the story addresses the theme of love and confronting yourself and change. That's very integral to it. I also love the art style. I love how, there's the comedy. The comedy in Nisekoi is insanely great. And the fact that it's based entirely around interactions. I like how Naoshi Komi constantly draws these characters' asses and tits, and it makes me fucking horny.
He really doesn't, though. Hold on. If we're gonna say I'm not gonna let you.
Okay, that's not what I mean. I was looking at panels, and I was like, he draws them, and I was like, yeah.
But I feel like Nisekoi, if you compare Nisekoi to To Love Ru, right, or even Weekend Study, I think Nisekoi has so little of that. The fan service in Nisekoi, I don't know if you agree with me, is it's all about how cute these girls are.
Yeah,
it's
not
about the etchy part of it, right?
Listen,
it's
yeah. See, you see, my brain is massive. I realize that cute is more desirable than.
Shut up! Shut up! You're so stupid. Okay, next year tell me Blaziken's. Okay, so I think
it's already toxic. We need to calm down.
I would say to me the appeal of Nisekoi, sure, part of it is how cute I think the girls are. But I also think that a large part of the appeal is this story about what is true love and, to not just kind of go with what you originally think, but to think about it, There's a reason that one of my favorite moments in the series is a character explaining to another character what true love is. And that is something that sticks with me that I can't get out of my head. Because to me, Nisekoi is a story, the reason that the story is called False Love is because it's a story about having false love and fake love and not knowing what true love is and learning what true love is. And that's the appeal of Nisekoi. And when the fucking point of the series is in the fucking title and you miss the point, I can't handle it.
What's even funnier is that so you can tell you didn't watch past season 1 because and a whole ass part of Nisekoi is also how they connect with their families, right? There's the love of family. There's his favorite character in the series, Ruri, has an entire arc where she goes and talks to her grandfather, and it's this whole thing where he's worried about her, and she learns to see his side and understand things about him, understand him, and why and the love that he has for her, but he couldn't be fucked to read it.
I mean, this man is the kind of guy who would see he would see something and a story, right? He would see Ruri swimming and be like, oh, she's a swimmer, okay, and not think what's the reason for that? What's the narrative purpose behind that? Why is the author showing that? He doesn't think like that. He's just this is something that happened. This is here. I'm gonna kill myself.
Do you think he watches he watches Star Wars, right? And when they're talking about the Force, he just sits there and goes, he's like, oh, something to add to the wiki.
Oh. No, he probably goes, oh, magic powers.
Oh, okay. You're right. He doesn't even read the wiki, because if he read the wiki, he would know that there's, and the other shows he was talking about, they get together sooner than he's saying.
Yeah, that's all. He goes, oh, magic powers. He doesn't think, what's the purpose behind the Force? Why is the Force a thing? What is the narrative intent of the Force? Because why would I think about that? That's too hard. My brain don't work like that.
Now, here's another thing. Another reason why I believe this man has never read a romance series in his life is the way he talks about Nozaki-kun. Because he assumes that the entire point of this story is that they're never getting together. As of now, Nozaki-kun has been running in its magazine since 2011.
I think it's I think it's an online manga, but same thing.
Yeah, and it's since 2011, meaning that there is going to eventually be an end. Now, I don't know if this man is clairvoyant and can see the future where they never get together. I mean, if he was a clairvoyant, he's a pretty shitty clairvoyant, because that's not what's going to happen. Stories like this, especially, if you've read Nisekoi, you would know that eventually the entire point is that Shio is going to confess to Nozaki. finally, because if you watch the show, she realizes that she never actually confessed. She just kind of said like,
and when she does
I'm your fan.
at the end of the show. Oh yeah, sorry, finish.
I'm your fan. But she says it like when the fireworks are exploding, when it's too. It's established throughout the series that
misunderstands her confession. Yeah, exactly.
Because Nozaki doesn't understand people. Like, that's his entire character, is that he doesn't understand people.
Has autism.
Like, deadass, I think he might, because like every time you see him talking, he's like, he doesn't understand the way normal people interact and stuff like that. So it's almost heavily implied that the only way they're getting together is if she just straight up says it to him in the most blatant way possible.
His dick and he learns. Yeah.
No, like that's the point. Like every single one of these characters is hopping around the issue, like dancing around the issue instead of just saying it outright. Like,
right.
But like that's the point. But this man can't look beyond the point and just assumes that it's only jokes. There's more to the joke. The reason why the joke is because there's a point to the joke. Like Mob Psycho 100's comedy isn't just because haha it's funny. It's like revolving around the fact that like Mob is like, you know, the fact that Mob is in the fucking like fitness club, even though he's a weak little kid with mind powers, is because he wants to improve as a person. But the comedy comes from the fact that he's a weird skinny kid who's like not good at fitness, while all these super buff dudes are like super about it, like, yeah man, improve dude.
Why did Mob join the fitness club and not get buff in 2 days?
That's also true.
I think that's a problem with Mob Psycho 100.
Why didn't one of the characters defeat Saitama in episode 1? Story over.
We should keep playing this. We're
only a minute in.
And we've been recording for 36 minutes. Oh no. This will be a 4-hour episode.
Let's go, hurry.
Even though everyone knows that deep down there's actually no way that Chitoge will lose out in the end. Yet despite these similarities, the receptions of these shows are actually quite different. Nisekoi's first season currently boasts a 7.8 on MAL, while Nozaki-kun has an 8.2. Since MAL scores are extremely high, allow me to recontextualize these scores. Shows within the high 7 ranges are generally regarded as either cult hits or mediocre popular shows, while shows within the 8 range are usually regarded as beloved. Thus, it is easy to tell that Nozaki-kun's reception is way better than that of Nisekoi.
Congratulations, sir, you can do math! You can do math! Did you know that 1 is smaller than 2?
At first I wanted to laugh, but now it's not funny anymore.
It's pretty funny. It's always funny to me. It's so fun. Listen, so I watched this together with some of the people on my server, and the moment he brought up the numbers thing, everybody in the call was laughing. They were losing it. They couldn't handle it.
Like, everyone knows, first of all, that Mal is a cesspool, okay? That's the first thing let's get out of the way right now. Mal is full of fucking degenerates, alright?
Mal is a wonderful site full of smart people like Critical.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. When you put it like that, I can't disagree. So it's the same as basing something off of, like, a Metacritic score or anything like that. Like, don't base any kind of argument on the Mal score unless your argument is that, like, the Mal score sucks. Like, I don't understand this shit.
Here's what's funny, right? He's making this whole big deal about the score difference. If you're rounding both, there's like what? A 0.2 difference?
It's 0.784 to 0.81 or to 8. It's 7.84 to 8.17. So I mean, they both round to an 8.
Yeah. So they're basically the same in terms of like, but then he tries to do like this thing where it's like there's an
Mal
obvious
also weights his scores. That's another thing to always remember with Mal scores. Mal scores are weighted.
There's also the fact that like if you like, you can tell that he's like really reaching for this point because he says either cult classics or like mediocre shows, and I'm like, well, you're gonna have to differentiate between the two because in terms of that, Bleach is literally one of the big 3.
I think Bleach and Naruto are both cult classics.
Well, they're also.
I don't think people know about them. I think people don't know about him. I think people forgot about him.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. My bad. I fucked up.
Yeah, you did fuck up, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was rude. I didn't mean that.
It's just like, I don't... Because then he's like, and then like, the 8.8 whatever are beloved. I'm like, so you're saying that Paranoia Agent, one of the most 3x3 shows of all time,
Satoshi Kon series,
is not a beloved classic. I don't understand.
I'm just dicking around on Mao really quickly. I'm looking to see if there's.
I'm gonna go on there. I'm gonna go on there right now and look at like what's in the 8 range real quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing right now.
I'm already in the 8 range.
Oh wow! Guess what's at the 8.6 range?
Oh, what is it?
Oh wait, this might not be what I think it is.
I guess Promised Neverland is a beloved classic.
Kingdom 3rd season? Oh no! What? The Kingdom anime is not good. Nobody should ever put
listen. So here's some things, right? Violet Evergarden's got an 8.62. By this man's own logic, 8s and above are like beloved classics, right? He made an entire video about how Violet Evergarden's like terrible and bad, so I don't know what this man's on about.
Anohana is an 8.47.
Let's go. And Erased is on here. Boku no Hero Academia 3rd season, you know, by his own logic.
Dr. Stone. Kuroko no Basuke.
Oh,
Bunny Girl Senpai.
By the way, he made an entire 2-part series where he says that Bunny Girl Senpai is everything wrong with anime.
Wow.
I don't know how he came to that conclusion, but, you know, respectable. Oh, Shokugeki no Soma, Season 1. Let's go. 8.4.
You know? I mean, yeah, like, the list goes on, right? Of things over an 8 that, like, are not good.
Or not even not good. Just some things that I know this man would not say is a quote-unquote classic in the same way.
Things that I wouldn't say are, like, beloved by the entire anime fandom, right? I would not say Shokugeki no Soma San no Sara is a beloved anime, right? Yet, it has an 8.28 on Mal.
Little Buster's Refrain as an 8.26.
No. Don't say that to me. Are you trying...
I'm being serious. You can check for yourself.
I see it. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna die.
Psyche Kusuo.
8.286.
Psyche Kusuo, a show that's literally just memes, is an 8.2. Inuyasha's 2nd season is an 8.2.
Okay, we should probably stop. I think our points.
No, yeah, like, okay, but the idea is that, like, this man's logic is just, you can tell he wrote this in a night. Didn't have anybody check it for, like, facts or anything. And these are just my assumptions, right? This is just what it feels like as someone who makes videos, as someone who makes content. This man's making assumptions about people who write stories and based off of Mal scores.
Couldn't be me.
Like, I don't understand what his logic is, because, and then he flashes his scores on the screen, right? Nisekoi 4 bad, you know, Nisekoi and Nozaki-kun are about in the same area of, like, most of their popularity came from this, in terms of, like, the anime community, came from the seasonal anime crowd who watched it back in 2014. Mm-hmm. They're like, his arguments don't add up factually, right? They just don't make sense.
Yes.
And they're about to get worse. They're about to get infinitely worse.
I believe it.
With the worst image of all time.
Now, the obvious question here is why? So let's try to figure this out by listing out the positives and negatives of each show.
Stop it, make it stop.
Okay, so we need to go back. So we just need to talk about this image. So this image is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
It's also, you can tell that he was like, if you look on the Nisekoi side, every single one of these pros is a backhanded compliment. And if you look at the right side, Nozaki-kun, every single one of these cons is a backhand, is like a softened insult.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. He's trying so hard to push this narrative of Nisekoi is worse, right? Like, characters are pretty dull. I would not call a single character in Nisekoi dull. Okay? I think that every character in Nisekoi has character. They have a character arc. They have character development. And in some of their cases, I would say the character development doesn't go the way you think it would.
I adore every single character in Nisekoi, if I'm being honest. Like, it's really hard for me. Like, it's when people say, like, other than Onodera, who's your favorite? And then I sit there and I stop because I can't really answer. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't. There's also constant plot contrivances, which just watch Craft Store's video on the plot, on like the nature of plot contrivances and shit. Because
Whoa! We shouldn't do that.
Why?
Craftsdorf and I mentioned in an EWB that we shouldn't just say, watch this person's
I was
video,
going to add more because it's like...
Okay, then add more.
Media and fiction is inherently contrived. Do you talk like these, like people in media? Do you talk like the characters in Game of Thrones? Do you like...
I do.
Like, by line, sit there and go... Like, if I go... like fucking... Here, I'll get a fucking volume of Tokyo Ghoul that's sitting over here because someone gave it to me. Do people sit there and talk like this? Do they go, honestly, I'm appalled by the negligence of the investigators of the Second Ward. They're just going through the motions. They lack a sense of duty. That's why the ghouls are having their way. Does anybody talk like that? You talk like that?
When I first watched Game of Thrones, I realized that they were just saying the exact same things that I've already said in my day-to-day life.
Oh, you're right. My bad. It's not like conversations get derailed like they're happening right now. They never do.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Lack of plot progression is annoying. Did he watch the same show? Like, did he read the same? He didn't read the manga. I can't say the manga because I know he didn't read it.
There is clear. I have said this multiple times, and I will mention this again in the video. If you think Nisekoi could be shorter, you miss the point of Nisekoi. Nisekoi has one or two major events in every volume. The slice of life comedy chapters exist in service of the point of the manga. If they weren't there, the manga wouldn't have the same impact it does otherwise. Nisekoi could not miss any chapters. It could not lose any volumes.
You're not allowed to have characterization, Vindy. You're just supposed to only have plot, apparently. But which is also ironic because this man also made a video called "Is Plot Bad?" and then just made an entire video where he talks about how stories don't need plots if they're not what he likes. So I don't know. I'm sensing a lot of unequal discourse. A lot of
and then let's look at the pros for Nisekoi.
Did you realize that wait, hold on. Did you realize that he put cons first on the Nisekoi side, but put pros first on the Nozaki-kun side?
Yeah, he also doesn't know how to make a consistent image.
No. Like he's doing that on purpose, right?
Person. How so?
He's doing that on purpose to show that Nisekoi is the cons are important, whereas with Nozaki-kun he's showing that the pros are important because Nozaki-kun's inherently better.
Well, let's look at pros, right? Great color palette.
Now,
Shinbo/Shaft influence.
One of them, it's almost like it was animated by Shaft and directed by Akiyuki Shinbo.
Very memorable character designs.
Wait, characters are pretty bold, but character design... Oh, never mind, fuck it.
I would agree with that. I would agree that the character designs are very memorable.
No. I'm just saying it's funny.
And characters sometimes act rationally.
Like, that's just the most backhanded compliment shit I've ever seen in my life.
Let's be real for a second, okay? If you created a series where your characters acted like real people, you would have created the most unentertaining, boring, ridiculous, terrible series of all time. Right? Like, people get tired of listening to the Weeb Club after an hour. Do you think they could watch a 4-hour anime? Like, if you took 4 hours... There is no way you could take 4 hours of Weeb Club conversation and reach any kind of conclusion off of it. It takes so much longer in real life for things to happen, right? So the idea that characters should act real and rational in media is just missing, especially when Nisekoi is a series about how they're stupid fucking high schoolers who are all dumb and retarded and like don't know what the real world is like and don't know what their feelings are.
That's also the problem, right? Is that like people don't act rationally when they're emotional or when they're teenagers or when they like feel strongly about something but are afraid of admitting it.
People don't act rationally ever. This man uploaded this video.
I don't act rationally. Have you ever read my fucking Twitter?
You definitely don't act rationally.
You don't act rationally. Like,
I'm
barely
perfectly
ever.
rational.
You do not.
Tell me one time I was irrational.
Every single time.
Alright, well, you should fucking kill yourself. Did you think about that?
See, you're acting irrationally right now. But then it gets like, then you go to the pros first. Nozaki-kun. Did you also realize that there's more pros on the Nozaki-kun side than there? Actually, no, never mind. Never mind, I'm stupid. I mean, it's because his fucking image, he has the pros first on the Nozaki-kun side, but as
Did you notice that on the Nozaki-kun, 2 of the pros are the same thing? It has really funny, and gags are fast and to the point.
You also spelled 2 wrong.
He used the wrong 2. If that doesn't tell you the intellectual IQ we're working with.
Oh, shut up, Critical.
I don't know what else will. He made this image, and then he edited it into his video, and at no point did he realize, oh, I'm using the wrong 2.
No, at no point did he realize, oh, this is wrong. We probably should title this one just straight up elitist weeb bashing instead of EWB, because honestly, this is what this is right now. Jesus Christ. Like, lovable cast that has a strong gimmick, fun character dynamics. I could easily say that on Nisekoi.
I would say that.
Well, I wouldn't define them by has a strong gimmick. I would say they have a strong character, because I don't define things by Unga Bunga gimmick.
Right, I don't use buzzwords that have no meaning because I think I'm above the media I consume. I like to engage with the media I consume and actually enjoy it.
Because I appreciate the works of
authors and writers. What a fucking surprise! You know what? I just realized that's what gets me about these people. They don't want to actually enjoy the media they consume. They watch it or read it or do it just to hate it. They don't try to engage on the media's terms. They want to do it on their terms. And their terms are that they don't want to like it because they want to be superior. They want to look down on the media instead of getting in the fucking trenches, getting in there, getting emotional, digging deep, and crying their eyes out.
I just really love the fact that he put as a con, not all jokes hit as hard. Because he couldn't think of a third one because he was just so...
I'm going to make a video, it's the cons of YouTube, and the con is not all videos are as good.
We should probably move on because the rest of these are just very little character progression, which he defends later on, and production design looks a little standard, which he defends later on. So just...
Well, do you notice? Okay, I mean, it's a con of both, but like lack of plot progression is annoying, or very little character progression. Why don't you just write the same thing on both? They're literally the same. But
he's a genius.
So let's start by talking about Nisekoi. There's definitely a lot to like about Nisekoi. While the animation's never really that outstanding or fluid, Studio Shaft makes it apparent that it's them with their iconic off-kilter visual presentation, though more toned down in comparison to their other titles like Bakemonogatari or Sangatsu no Lion.
Okay, I need to stop it here.
Go ahead, go off.
I don't know how much you can... Okay, the Sangatsu anime is more Umino than the Nisekoi anime is.
It's probably like one of the least Shaft shows I've seen.
Here's what I mean by that. So much of Threegatsu and the way Threegatsu adapts itself is completely and intrinsically tied into the way that the manga presents itself. Whereas that is not the case with Nisekoi. Nisekoi takes way more liberties with how it chooses to display scenes and to adapt scenes than Sangatsu does. And if you were maybe someone who actually cared about the source material and decided to maybe read the fucking source material for either of these, you would have learned that. But you didn't, because you don't care. You just want to shit on this show instead of actually thinking about it. So saying, oh, it's less Shaft than Sangatsu no Lion, one of the most beloved anime ever. And Monogatari, one of the most beloved anime ever. You can take Nisekoi down a peg by saying it's less of this thing you like, when in reality, Nisekoi is more Shaft than Sangatsu, because Sangatsu borrows more from the way Umino chose to show things, whereas Nisekoi takes less from the way that Naoshi Komi chose to show things, and does more of its own creative liberties. So you're just wrong with the point you're making.
So did
and
you
it's
also...
clear you're wrong because you haven't read the manga for either, you haven't fucking really watched either, and you don't pay attention. And that's fucking blatantly clear by everything you've said in this video.
There's no... The animation isn't as fluid as he shows a super fluid visual of Chidoge doing a cartwheel into a round off.
And I should say with this, that is true. He says it's not fluid animation while showing very fluid animation. I should say that I don't hate Sangatsu. It is my favorite manga and my second favorite anime. I love Sangatsu, But Sangatsu is very Umino in the way that Shaft chose to adapt it. A lot of things that Shaft did are very much how they were presented in the manga.
I should probably point out that for all three of these anime, because I know this man has not read the manga for Nisekoi I have a 10. All three of these anime I've rated a 9. So, like, you know.
Right.
Uh-oh. Like, it's just, he's very clearly, like, adding concessions for some things, well, not for others. Like, Bakemonogatari is also, he says it's more Shaft, but Bakemonogatari, like, if you even compare it to something like Hidamari's Sketch, they're both, like, there's, like, slight differences, but they're very different visually and very different how they execute themselves.
Yes.
But they're both very Shaft.
It's also not a fair comparison because Bakemonogatari is adapting a novel into an anime. So that means that when Shaft are doing it, the visuals, they are completely coming up with. There is no visual for them to use other than what's said in the novel, right?
And sometimes it uses it on purpose, where they have like the stills, like the PowerPoint, the Unga Bunga PowerPoint meme, where it's like.
So I would agree that Monogatari is very Shaft, but I also think that, like, you know, when you compare to manga, which, okay, that's a fair comparison. How are both of these manga adapted, and which do they take more visual liberties with? Because anytime someone talks about the Shaft style, they're talking about the visual adaptation of the source material. And I would say that Nisekoi, there's more liberties taken in how the story is visually adapted than you have with Sangatsu, as someone who's read and watched both.
He also conveniently did not bring out like Madoka Magica or or Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, because he, you know, why would he bring out?
He hasn't seen him. Well, no, he's probably seen Madoka. But...
Yeah, because everybody's seen Madoka, and then he probably thinks Madoka is just a deconstruction of a magical girl show, based off of what I'm understanding from this video. Like, all the shows I just mentioned are vastly different. His lack of, like, knowledge is just showing when he's like, he's literally showing on-screen fluid animation, says there's no fluid animation. Like, I'm like, I don't understand how you function as a person.
Everything he's doing, his entire point is to try and tear down Nisekoi. He has this agenda he's trying to push. We've talked about this before, right? It was similar to what we were talking about in the Cross video, where these people have like people have an agenda that they want to push, and because they're trying to push their agenda, they aren't seriously
attempted to see the other side. They're only focusing on their own opinions.
They're not looking at the media for what it is. They're looking at the media to hate it, as opposed to giving it a fair shake. What is this doing? What's the purpose? Why do these things exist?
God, let's just go. I can't.
The color scheme is very pleasant, and the character designs are very identifiable, except for Onodera's sister, who looks exactly like her for some reason.
For some reason. Because they're sisters. Because they're sisters. Because they share a blood relation. They are sisters, so they look alike. They are sisters. Remember, as you just said, they're sisters. What a coincidence. Sister looks similar to another sister. Wow, who would have thought?
Hey, Vindy.
Oh my god.
Hey, Vindy. One of them is also shorter than the other, has a smaller frame. One of them has different hair. One of them has a sharper eye shape.
Smaller bust
one of them has an
size.
entire different outfit and the way she dresses. One of them is very hyperactive, especially in the manga. When you read it, you can very clearly tell when Haru's on screen versus when Kosaki's on screen.
I can't handle. They're sisters. That's why you think they look similar, because they're sisters. And if you think that sisters look similar, guess what? That means Naoshi Komi did a good job, and you're trying to hate him for doing his job.
Furthermore, while I'd argue that the character writing in the show is less than stellar, and in some cases utter garbage, I do appreciate the short moments during the show during which a character will act like a person with some semblance of common sense.
I want you to go off. I've been going off this whole time.
I think I'm beating this at the dead horse. Acts like a person with common sense. He brings up Ruri, a character whose entire point is that she's a stick in the mud and is too focused on her own future, which she eventually learns is wrong in the manga later on with Maiko Shu. Also one of the characters who's extremely similar to her when she finds out later on.
The whole point of Rui, and even if you want to look at that in terms of the main romance going on, the whole point is that they see exactly what's going on because they're outsiders, because neither of them have feelings for anyone in the group. And because they don't have those emotions clouding their judgment, they're able to look at it more objectively, which nobody in the actual, you know, if you want to say in the harem or whatever, can, because their emotions are too strong and it's clouding their judgment. Which is the point.
And he's just like, he just keeps saying things like garbage character writing, never specifies why. It just kind of lets us, just says it because we're supposed to just believe that it's garbage because he says so. Occasionally they'll act like real people. Again, here's the thing. I kind of said this in the cross video because I find it always funny when people say the anime characters act like real people. It's like, are these the kind of kids who like in high school would dress up as Naruto and run around do Naruto runs, and then the principals would pull him and be like, sorry man, Naruto's not real. Could you stop that? Like, of course characters aren't going to act like real people. They are literary devices. They are like extrapolations of attributes that we see in real life to function for the sake of the story. They are not real. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but Naruto Uzumaki is not a real person. Homie from Game of Thrones is not a real person. Even if it's an actor playing a character. You know? They say bring a character to life. They're referring more to the believability rather than how real they are. You know?
If it's not real, it's not believable.
I can't do it. I can't do this, man. I can't do this. We're only 2 minutes. We're only 3 minutes. You're only barely out of it.
Also, there's an Ava reference in episode 15. Yet, as shown by its somewhat middling scores on Mal, relative to the rest of the site of course, there's also a lot to hate. Like that time where after misunderstanding, Onodera finally nuts up and tries to confess to Raku, only to be interrupted by a baseball, or that time that Onodera tries to do it again is interrupted by a phone call, or that time that Onodera tries to do it again and it turns out that Raku was asleep the whole time.
What?
You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. It's called you didn't watch the show?
I don't think you get what Naoshi Komi is saying. First of all, haha Ava reference mean good. But also, like, the whole reason that, like, Onodera isn't able to confess is because her and Raku aren't meant to be, so their confession never matches up.
Well, there's also the fact that, like, there's literally a line after the baseball scene. So I watched this video and I immediately reworked my script a little bit for my Onodera video because I realized that I have to blatantly explain this to people. So I said, look what she says after the confession fails. And she literally says, I want things to stay the same for just a little while longer, but maybe someday I'll say my feelings to you. Heavily implying that she wants things to stay the same rather than advance the relationship.
And both of them don't really want to advance anything until they decide to, and by that point, Onodera and Mr. Chance.
That's the point, and it's like, you know, I get it, man. You just really want to hate the show because these characters. That's the thing about romance series. I never understand why people just want the characters to fuck in episode 2, because that to me is like, unless you're Ore Monogatari where the point of the story is that their relationship is being questioned by everybody, and these two are like inspiring other people. You know, maybe. But, like...
It's so mind-boggling.
Oh, here's another thing. Oh, you said the middling scores on Mal. Never mind. Something about, like, as you can tell by the middling scores on Mal, that there's a lot to hate. And it's like, the middling score that you're showing me on screen is literally only, like, 3 points away from the show that you're about to praise. Weighted scores.
Calling a 7.8 on Mal a middling score... A low 7 would maybe be a middling score in terms of Mal. A 7.84... is not a middling score. Being ranked inside the top 800 anime of all time on my anime list is not middling. I get if you've only seen 100 anime, and of those 100, 75 of them are in the top 100 because you treat Mal like your fucking Bible. Maybe, yeah, I could see someone thinking that 7.84 is middling. Well, it is not middling. That is an insanely good score that shows that most people who watch the series fucking liked it.
You know what's even funnier, Vindy? The popularity rating for Nisekoi is sitting at 85 right now. Like currently, it's 85. It has 719,094 members, like having it in their thing.
So let's do what this guy did. Okay, let's use Mal as our metric. Okay, of the 515,000 people that have completed it. Okay, and this is also kind of people who haven't seen it, right?
Yeah.
10% gave it a 10. 17% gave it a 9. 30% gave it an 8. 24% gave it a 7. 9.7% gave it a 6. 4% gave it a 5. 1% gave it a 4. And less than 1% gave it a 3, 2, or 1. Now, I don't know about you, but if I look at the numbers 1 through 10, I would consider middling a 5. Would you not?
I would consider any score. I would consider any score that isn't a fucking 8 and above. When the score stats are literally a bell curve with 8 as the middle, where the most number of people who have seen the show gave the show an 8. That does not mean it's middling. That means people liked the show who have seen it. And sure, not everyone liked the show, but a fair number of people have. Nisekoi is an entire oh, it's way more, because I was gonna say it was like a 20. It was like 20 numbers above Nozaki-kun popularity. No, Nozaki-kun's number 132 in terms of popularity. Nisekoi is number 85.
Right.
It's like way ahead of it, and even in terms of like members that have it, 572,000 versus fucking 719,000. You're just factually wrong. You are factually incorrect in your attempts to make Nisekoi look worse than it actually is. People in AniTube need to stop trying to beat down other series based off of facts that they have that are incorrect. Like, people always say, oh, Bleach is bad because Tite Kubo didn't want to write it anymore. Give me the source. Give me the source. You gotta tell me where it's at. Nisekoi kept going because they made it keep going. Show me the source. Show me the source that proves what you're saying is correct. Even when this man has the information at his fingertips, he can't be fucked to just read.
Right. Which
is just... We're only 3 minutes into this 8-minute video, and we've paused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. I don't understand.
I'm gonna die.
Let's keep going. Time to die.
The main appeal of Nisekoi is that it is an escapist fantasy in which you pick one of its lineup of potential waifus and violently defend it against other people who chose differently.
The main appeal of Nisekoi is that it's a good story about true love and what it means to...
The main appeal of Nisekoi is that the characters are extremely likable and they're all really fun to watch interact. And in the process of it, shippers might become really obsessed with who they want to win.
And just because people it's the same as how people could say that, well, people self-insert as Kirito. So the main appeal of SAO is this escapist fantasy where you self-insert as Kirito. But the whole point of SAO is that Kirito is an asshole and is wrong and needs to grow and change.
I like to view the whenever... I'm probably going to start using this analogy. When you talk about a harem series, please also try to replace everything you're saying with action series tropes, right? Where now you say the appeal of Naruto is you want to see these characters fight each other and you're rooting for one of them to win. Do you think anybody in the story is going to be the winner if not Naruto? So there might be something else going on.
I read Yamakun and the Seven Witches and I'm like, I wonder who's going to win.
I don't know. Maybe it's the two that kiss in the opening. Right? It's like the main appeal of a story is up to anyone to decide because it depends. I got into Bleach when I was younger because the big sword cool and the fun and the cool music cool. Now I say when I talk about why Bleach is amazing is because it is probably one of the most insane things to analyze ever, because the deeper you get into the hole, the more you just fucking get buried in that shit because Tite Kubo's a madman, and also because the things are cool, right? Maybe if you're a child, you will simplify the appeal of things to this level. This man is basing the entire, he's like, oh look, the fanboys are gonna fight over who wins.
You think they're not doing that for Nozaki-kun with with fucking Mikoshiba and Nozaki, who's gonna end up with Chio? You think that's not happening? Shippers will do that for everything.
Also, when you start saying that, like, there's a clear difference where, like, Nozaki, a lot of the groups, there's, like, defined pairs. When a lot of the point of Nisekoi is that these girls grow because of their love for Raku, but that they realize and Raku realizes that, like, they weren't meant to be. But that the fact that they had those feelings allowed them to kind of come out of their shell and grow as people. And that's, like, the entire point of the story. So to insinuate that, like, oh, it's just there so that people can think about who... I mean, he gets worse with this, but that, like, oh, it's just there to insinuate, like, oh, well, this is who they like. It's, like, that's so disrespectful to what Naoshi Komi's going for and the point of the series and the story.
This video's a fucking joke.
God, I wish it was funny.
I mean, it's funny that we're doing this. Maybe this is the cosmic fucking meme that we're getting on, right?
Nothing in my life this is not funny. This is terrible. I'm a hurt human being, I think.
We've been recording for an hour. We're only 3 minutes in.
We're not even halfway.
Play the video.
Yet everyone knows, just based on the character designs and promotional art alone, that no matter what, Chitoge will always win. This means that the only reason that its readership doesn't just leave after realizing that their favorite girl isn't going to win is simply the fact that they want to keep on seeing this character do things.
Did you see that scan? One of the worst scans I've ever seen. That was the worst scan I've seen in my life. That was...
I would not call myself a competent video editor, but I would not have a manga page of my video with that many fucking watermarks in it.
There's several signs that this man did not, like, edit this and wrote it in a night and did not think about it. Like, how he's using subbed videos.
Two?
What? Oh, yeah, two. Like, listen, I'm losing my mind. That visual he used, the fact that he, like, in his examples of the thing, used season 2 of Chinibyo, despite the fact that he's trying to say the appeal of it is that they don't get together forever. There's just indications of it everywhere that this man did not... I don't want to do effort scaling here, but this man did not try to make this video as competent as he could, or as, like, indefensible as he could. Because he just wanted to shit on Nisekoi. That's all he wanted to do. He probably sat there, watched Nozaki-kun, and, like, had vague thoughts about how one is better than the other, and then said, I'm going to make this video.
I'm hurting on the inside.
He also just spoiled the end of Nisekoi for everybody. Even though he most likely did not read the manga.
Well, but if you were paying attention, it's obvious the direction the story goes. So why would anyone continue to watch when they know how it's going to end? Like, the thing is, like, it's so asinine to me that he mentions, like, anyone paying attention would notice that Chitoge is going to win. So why would people still care when the appeal is who's going to win? Like, at that point, why don't you stop and think, like, man, maybe if I think the appeal is who's going to win, and I think it's obvious who's going to win, why don't I actually stop, take a step back, and think, what is the real appeal of the series? Like, how do you not have that much self-awareness when joking about how self-aware you are? Like, grow the fuck up.
Here's the thing, most anime
YouTubers... And learn how to analyze and critique stories. Because if you don't, you shouldn't be a fucking YouTuber. I'm sorry, that's just the fucking case.
Can I point something out? I just went and checked Nisekoi's manga's popularity rating. Tell me what you think it is.
What?
Tell me what you think Nisekoi's popularity rating is on My Anime List as the manga.
Didn't you already say that?
No, the manga.
Oh, I don't know.
Literally in the top 20. It is number 20.
Let's go.
Like, how do you not understand? Like, Bokuben's an entire, like, 156 numbers down from that. How do you not get it? That there might be more appeal to it. I get comments on my videos all the time that there are people who say, I like Nisekoi because it made me to cry. I like this character, but I'm so happy with the ending.
I'm not ashamed to admit that when I, on my second read of Nisekoi, well, when I read the ending, I was, like, bawling. Like, I, like, was crying for, like, a long fucking time at that ending because it affected me so much emotionally.
I read the end. So there, Nisekoi and Bleach both ended at this in the same year, like very close apart. And I was there for because I watched the anime for both. So I went and read the manga up to the point where the anime ended for both, and then read up. When I read the ending for Nisekoi, I'm still team Onodera because of Unga Bunga. I like Onodera. I fucking cried at that ending. There might be a reason for that, you know?
Right.
This man is just... I hate anti-tubers like this. I hate people like this.
Yeah. It's... I mean, it just is disrespectful to people more talented than you.
Uh-oh.
And it shows your lack of thought.
Play...
Thus, to satisfy this desire and retain readers, Nisekoi must constantly cycle through all of its girls in order to keep everyone happy. However, this also has the side effect of making everything about the series that isn't about developing the main romance or your specific waifu seem completely pointless. Look, Nisekoi was originally run in Shonen Jump, so it was built for longevity.
Here we fucking go.
However, to do so, it does not tell an extremely long story. In fact, it tells a very short story, but it manages to make it so long by constantly skirting around the point with over-the-top and infuriating plot contrivances. It is truly a very simple story. Boy kind of likes a girl, but no one is sure which girl it is.
Stop playing it! Stop playing it! He's done with his fucking point! Stop!
I kept trying to pause it.
Okay. So
I kept trying to pause it.
first of all,
we're at the point where he's now just shitting on the entirety of Shonen Jump.
all right. So
Have fun.
Let's get things straight. First of all, because you don't know what you're talking about, and that's very clear because of the way you talk about Shonen Jump. So, let's talk about a manga by the name of Bakuman. And the reason that bringing up Bakuman is extremely important is because of what Bakuman did in terms of Weekly Shonen Jump, and what we know it's done in terms of Weekly Shonen Jump. Bakuman ended in 2012. Nisekoi started in 2012, right? Shonen Jump editors and the editor-in-chief of Shonen Jump have come out saying that Bakuman and the reception it receives made them take an intrinsic look at how they add manga to their lineup. And ever since Bakuman ended, and the message of Bakuman, and the way Bakuman shows what it's like to be in Shonen Jump, they've allowed authors to end stories on their own terms. Stories are not put in Shonen Jump to be long. They are put in Shonen Jump because the manga wants to be in Shonen Jump for whatever reason, and when they want to tell their story in the Shonen Jump magazine. The editorial department does not force stories to be long. The mangaka do not force stories to be long. They tell the story they want to tell in the time they want to tell it. So to insinuate that Naoshi Komi or Jump as a whole is forcing the story to be longer is factually incorrect based on just the idea of what goes on in Shonen Jump since Bakuman happened. On top of that, the idea that Nisekoi is a short, simple story because it's boy kind of likes girl, which girl does he like, is completely ignoring the entire story told with every girl and the way that every girl grows and changes throughout the story. And we'll get little chapters of, oh, this is what's going on with Marika. Here's a little bit of Marika development that ends in the last 5 volumes with every girl getting almost a full volume of character development going into the final arc. So it's not a short story. There are a lot of characters. There are a lot of moving pieces. The girl that your fucking avatar is on YouTube has a lot of character development throughout the series.
Doesn't she almost have like a volume of like development? There's like almost a volume worth.
Her and Shu, the little arc of them with a girl is like almost a volume long.
It takes up like half of one of the final volumes.
One of the last few volumes in the story. There is so much character development for all of these characters, and the arcs that they go through are so massive that you can't put it all into a short story. Nisekoi couldn't be 5 volumes. Sure, it could be shorter if you cut out everyone except for Raku, Onodera, and Chitoge, but then it wouldn't be the same story intrinsically because a large part of it is the way that just being in this group of all these girls pushes Onodera and Chitoge and Raku and everyone else forwards.
So I don't know about this, man, but there's something what you notice as every single girl is introduced. When Tsugumi is introduced, we find out more about Chitoge's past. Also, we find out that more about Chitoge's background and why she is the way she is, and how Chitoge also changed Tsugumi. When Marika shows up, we find out more about the whole past and more about the Promise Girl and how they all were
connected and together. And also the fact we get the hint that Raku realizes that, holy shit, I'm just stringing these girls along, and starts to feel bad about it. On top of that, Marika pushes Onodera and Chitoge to be more assertive because they're realizing, holy shit, this thought is like super making a move on my man. So they gotta they start moving forward and realizing their own feelings. And then when Haru shows up, we realize that Onodera doesn't have any aspirations for herself, which is made very clear by her sister, who has tons of aspirations for herself but cares too much about her own family. When Yui shows up, then Marika gets into gear, and all of them realize, holy shit, we have to do something.
And it's only when they sit down and talk about the locket and about how they all have feelings for Raku that what are they going to do? That they're all forced into action, and it's because of the action that they take. For example, right? Let's talk about the scene, since now we're into spoilers on Nisekoi, since you already did. Let's talk about the scene where Raku realizes he has feelings for Chitoge. The entire point of that scene, and the reason that scene even happens, is because Chitoge is going out of her way to try to make Raku feel better because she realizes there's been something on his mind.
Also because of Marika, because Marika just went through the entire arc she had.
Right. And so because of all of that, she felt like it was her time to try to make a play. So she's like, I'm going to use our fake date to try to make Raku feel better and try to perk him up. And it's through her actions there and the time that Raku spends with her, which if we didn't see all the time they were spending together and spend multiple years with them in high school, understanding that they were growing up together and spending all this time together, we wouldn't understand the way that Raku feels comfortable and at home and like he's with someone he wants to be with for the rest of his life when he spends this time with Chitoge. And it's because of that he realizes, man, I really love Chitoge, and that we kick off into the end of the series. That happens because other characters exist in the story.
That moment literally kicks off the end of Nisekoi. That's literally the crux of the entire end of Nisekoi, is that Raku realizes that he loves Chitoge.
Right.
And then there's again, I'm going to bring up the fact that if you're going to talk about Unga Bunga harem series, you need to also replace everything you're saying with shonen action tropes. Are you saying that all these characters, side characters, having fights and all these different opponents that the main character has to fight are just worthless? He should just fight the main boss in chapter 1. Are you saying that Naruto is actually a short story? That this 11-year-old kid should just become Hokage in episode 1? Are you saying?
Yeah.
Are you saying that Luffy should just find the One Piece in chapter 1?
It is. It's just a guy looking for the One Piece, and will he find it? Will he not?
If I extrapolate the point of any story to just one thing, I could just do that for everything. Did you know that Neon Genesis Evangelion is just a short story? It's just about a boy who won't get inside the robot. Bitch gets inside the robot, show's over.
It's just about someone who needs to learn to love themselves. If he just loved himself from episode 1, it would be a short story. But Hideaki Anno decided to draw out the story because he wanted it to be longer.
FMA is a story about, these two boys just want to get their bodies back. Unga Bunga just, in chapter 1, get a Philosopher's Stone. It's over. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. Fucking... what...
Why don't you just start at Pokemon and go right to the Elite Four?
No, not even that. Just go right to the champion.
You're right.
Why play any game? Why?
Just skip right to the final boss. Just do the final boss, then you beat the game.
Why watch the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe when Iron Man should just snap in the first minute of Iron Man?
Well, watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just watch Endgame, and then that's all that happens.
No, watch the last 5 minutes of Endgame.
You're right.
Yeah. That's just reductive and just showing that you are lazy
and stupid. And don't understand that stories, if they're long, a lot of times are long inherently and are meant to be long. And there are reasons for that besides some kind of malicious want to trick its fans. But to tell a story that takes time to tell and has to be told over a long period of time.
That's what's probably my thing right now, is I'm realizing is that with Cross's video, Cross was just insinuating that these other shows are just not as passionate as others, which is just more of an effort thing, right? Which is bad. But at least he wasn't accusing Naoshi Komi or he wasn't accusing Gotoge of maliciously misleading its readers, their readers.
Or he wasn't accusing Gotoge of intentionally making it bad. It was just Gotoge doesn't care as much, so the story that Gotoge is telling isn't as good. But what he's saying is that, like, literally Naoshi Komi is trying to make his story worse, which is a whole different ballpark. And the idea that Naoshi Komi would spend 5 years of his life on a story that he didn't want to be good and that he didn't want to resonate with people is insane and ridiculous. There's a reason that, okay, so I just pulled out my last volume of Nisekoi. There's a reason that his author comment in the last volume is, the last volume of Nisekoi, the group's long journey down the road of love reaches its conclusion. Thank you for sticking with us to witness the fate of each of our friends. It's almost like it's not purpose. A story of just Raku and Chitoge, and he understands that and says that it's a story about everyone. The fate of all of their friends, not just one or two of them.
You notice there's this weird assertion that he's making that, like, the fact that Naoshi Komi even tried to develop his characters is bad. Because now he's going into Nozaki-kun where he for one, he's also throwing Nozaki-kun under the bus because he's implying that the characters are just bland because, you know, it's fine though because it's funny when there's very clearly more going on. Let's probably just get into it because because now he's getting into Nozaki-kun, a show I don't like, and now I'm gonna have to defend it, which is probably the worst thing about this.
You're defending your least favorite anime.
No, not true. This isn't Ichigo 100%.
Now let's talk about Nozaki-kun. Nozaki-kun is often harped on by some people that accuse it of failing to be the series that it sets out to be, which is a fair misconception, though it is still a misconception. I mean, look at those tags. Comedy, romance, school. The misunderstandings are over the top in their frequency and the context in which they are employed, and understandably are infuriating to those watching to see a romance actually blossom.
You can literally hear this man stumbling over his words. It's so bad. Like, you It's like... It sounds like it was recorded in a night. When he's showing Arcada, right, he's like, oh, some people... It's literally just that video of gay nerds fighting. This is just gay nerds fighting because they're both wrong. Like, okay. Arcada wanted a romance thing by the end of a 12-episode adaptation of a 4-koma manga that's still going. He's dumb. But you're arguably more dumb for then saying, well, you see, actually, it was never a romance. Ignore the fucking romance tag that's on almost every single media that piece of, like, information that brands Nozaki-kun, right? It's on purpose. It's a meme. It's funny. And it's like, no, dipshit. The reason why the last episode misleads you is not because they're never going to get together. Unless Doga Kobo time traveled to the year that Nozaki-kun ended and then realized that it was going nowhere and then just fucked with us because faha funny. They don't have a full picture of the story. And the full picture of the story is most likely that the moment these characters admit their feelings for real, that they're gonna get together. Because I've read more than one romance series. Jesus Christ, I can't fucking deal with this shit. Do you have anything to say before I fucking rant again?
No.
Yeah, because I probably need him to say... I probably need him to dig his grave more before I shit on him again, so let's play the video.
There's also much complaint about how the characters in Nozaki-kun remain staunchly within their predetermined gimmick. Furthermore, the character designs aren't as standout as those in Nisekoi, and its color palette and direction style is basically the same as any other high school romantic comedy anime. That being said, there simply is so much more stuff to like here.
You can't shit on the show like that and then say, but there's so much more to like. I can't look at my dog and be like, oh, look at this dumb fuck. He can barely walk. He's ugly. He's got no hair. He can't even eat solid food. He shits all over the place. But there's so much more to like.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with the video at this point, and this is a persistent idea in anime community, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but this idea that, like, oh, I'm above the average. My taste is above the average taste. So if something looks like, the average of things, then it's bad, and I don't like it. If something sounds like it could be average, or like, the group average of that thing, then it's bad. And that's such just a fucking small-brained, pretentious, terrible way to look at things. Instead of taking everything as it is, you take things as some other weird... I just can't stand the idea, and I can't... It makes me so upset.
It's making me fucking sick. Because, like, you are factually not better than anybody else. My dude, you have fucking Ruri as your fucking profile picture, and you're shitting on Nisekoi in the same vein. Like,
I just can't handle that it looks like every other high school rom-com. Like, well, what's wrong with that? Nothing. You shouldn't act like that's a fucking net negative. The idea that average is bad and you have to be better than the average, like, shut up, grow up, and stop being a fucking idiot. God, I would say that kind of mindset in the anime community is legitimately disgusting. This idea of, like, oh, I'm better than the average. If something is what I deem to be average, that means it's bad. Instead of taking stories as what they are and taking each series individually as its own thing, it's so gross and so, like, transparent in the idea that you just want to be better than other people as opposed to actually be a real person.
It's almost like the point of Nisekoi is fucking being honest with confronting like the fucking inadequacies of yourself and seeing other people who are doing things that you're not.
I love Persona 4.
And then this man's also just not doing anything but also shitting on things because he perceives them to be worse than him. I don't know. Something I've noticed. It's like he says a lot of things, right? It's like, oh, the character designs aren't that notable. The one character literally looks like a Paris and is like, she's instantly recognizable because she looks like a fucking Paris.
It makes.
The color palette is also like very distinct. Actually, it's got a. When I was looking at it, I was like, it kind of has like this weird, like, very like Crayola, like flat colors look to it, right? Mm-hmm. Which is vastly different from Nisekoi's like super pastel color palette.
Right.
And Nozaki-kun's color palette is almost like the point because it's fucking portraying these like two-dimensional tropes as like fun, exaggerated versions of themselves.
Do you want to tie? Let's go a little more intense with Nozaki-kun for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's actually dissect what Dogakobo is doing with this anime. And I think that this is something we didn't do enough in the Weeb.
Because we were too busy fucking screaming at each other, yeah.
Because I was too busy pissed at you. But let's look at what it's doing. Nozaki-kun is a 4-koma manga. So the fact that it doesn't feel like a 4-koma manga adaptation in the anime. Because if you've read any 4-koma in your life, any amount of 4-koma, right? Like, multiple 4-koma manga. They all have the exact same flow. And I would say that most 4-koma anime adaptations have that flow. You watch the Surazura Children anime, it has the same flow as the manga. It has a very 4-koma feel to it in terms of the way jokes are delivered and the flow of an episode, right? It's very 1, 2, 3, 4, reset, 1, 2, 3, 4, reset. Like, there is a flow to the way 4-koma works. The fact that Nozaki-kun feels like I'm watching a show that has an individual episode that goes and doesn't have these breaks every like 4 beats shows how well directed and well adapted Nozaki-kun is. Okay, when you look at, for example, the manga scenes where it shows what's going on inside Nozaki's shoujo manga, I would say are actually pretty fucking well directed and are a pretty good adaptation of that and do a great job. I would say that there is legitimate technical skill in the direction of Nozaki-kun. The problem is the source material just isn't interesting enough to really turn into something great. However, I would say that Nozaki-kun does things to differentiate itself from other things. And when you look at how it is as an adaptation and how Dogakobo chose to adapt it, they did a fucking phenomenal job, if you ask me.
No, like, my entire thing was just, like, everything with the story itself and the characters I had issues with.
but like visually, right, there's a very clear like aesthetic it's going for. And
it is very Dogakobo.
Like it's pop. It's like
in the best way. It is
colors
very much
pop, right? And they're like, and it's not like anything's like bland or boring. Like certain things look very much like almost like serialized, right? Because Onga Boga the man makes a fucking manga,
right?
Right?
Well, it's like, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you know, I say it's very Dogakobo. I would say that Dogakobo are one of the most consistent and best studios currently making anime. So saying that a Dogakobo show is very Dogakobo is a compliment. That is good. I think Dogakobo consistently hit the mark, consistently make something that's visually appealing, and they consistently do a good job of adapting a source material into an anime that feels like it stands on its own with its own merits.
What do you think about A Sleepy Insomniac insisting that no Dogakobo has the reason why they haven't made season 2 is because it's much more profitable to appeal to pedophiles?
Well, I think we should play the video.
And all of it boils down to authorial intent.
Ah!
The central joke of the series is that Sakura and Nozaki will never get together, which is indicative of the larger conceit of being an anime about shoujo manga in which the tropes are played up to a ridiculous degree. Yet, that isn't even the only thing going on with this show. As previously noted, the characters each have a strong gimmick that is both endearing and fun to see mixed with others. Yes, they are just gimmicks, but that's all the series really needs.
I hate how he's making me do this. He's making me look real deep into this show I don't like and fucking defend the shit out of it. Because in the process of him trying to say how good it is, he is like indirectly shitting on it. Which is kind of insane.
I want to die.
So, he has never read a shoujo series in his life. Because you can tell. Because I remember I was trying to...
Nozaki doesn't feel like a shoujo manga. It doesn't. In no way it feels like a shoujo romance manga. The series,
if
like the anime.
like you could argue that it's making fun of tropes, but then it's like, yeah, but you know, that's why I was like when I was on the episode, I was like literally screaming that I felt like watching it that whoever wrote it like didn't understand shoujo, because the entire series just felt like it was like just someone like getting hearsay of what the tropes were and then just making fun of them. Like, and again, Craftstrove made a point to me later on that was like, oh yeah, maybe it's because it isn't in a shoujo magazine that they have to kind of like dumb it way down for people who don't know anything about it. And I was like, okay, fair. But it's just...
Because, yeah, it's in Gangan.
Yeah, it's just like... Even then, it should be very clearly obvious to anybody who's ever read a shoujo series that, like, it's parodying the tropes, but it does not feel like a shoujo series at all. It is, at best, a goddamn Flanderization of shoujo, right? That's, at best, what it is, if you're going to say that. But he's saying it because he's like, he knows he's saying that's the premise. And it's like, yeah, but, like, these characters stick in these tropes because it's like their way of, like, turning the tropes themselves into character flaws. It's... If you've ever read a series called... It's a little niche, you know, nobody's ever read it, called Komi-san Can't Communicate. It's a series about, like, these characters whose tropes are literally turned almost into, like mental disorders.
Characters, yeah, like, the characters are named after their trope.
And it's like, the trope is literally, like, a disorder that they have to work past. Every single one of them. A character is, like... Komi-san's name is literally just a way of communicate, right? Manbagi, there's Manbagi, whose whole thing is like she's a gyaru, or like, you know, whatever. And then we have the fucking Chunibyo one. We have the Yandere. We have all these other ones, right? And the entire point is that these people realize that they're more than just their tropes.
Right.
Nozaki-kun is a series where every single one of these characters is a trope, and they only view each other through that trope because they just don't learn to understand more about the person. Highlighted specifically in Seo's relationship with the bottom.
The bottom.
Because
Did you call him the bottom because you don't remember his name?
Yeah. Seo is annoying as fuck, but she's not trying to be. But she also very clearly likes the bottom. Meanwhile, the bottom thinks she's irritating and has shit out for him and doesn't realize that she likes him.
Right. Yes.
And so the entire point of their character arc is that they see past their preconceived notions of the other and then finally eventually get together, which we don't get in a 12-episode adaptation of an ongoing 4-koma manga that's been going since 2011.
Yes.
That's just one example, dumbass. Oh.
Wow, I think you're a little hurtful with your words, but...
Look, I would be like this even worse if somebody made me defend Ichigo 100% of all things. I would lose my mind at that point. I would just riot. Play the video. I can't fucking take this shit anymore.
Well, he's about to shit on Nisekoi, so...
Yeah, I know.
Unlike Nisekoi, which feels the need to develop every single girl to draw as much mileage out of the potential fan followings each character could receive...
Okay, so I just realized what he's doing. I'm sorry, I had to pause it. I actually can't handle this. He thinks that Naoshi Komi is being a good author and developing his characters to make the girls receive more mileage. No, you fucking blithering retard who doesn't understand how fucking stories work. You fucking incompetent buffoon.
Oh yeah, I'm rude for saying dumbass and you're calling him a fucking incompetent buffoon.
I'm actually so fucking tilted right now.
Listen, Vindy. This is the man who made a video called Plot is Bad.
How can you sit here and say that he's developing his characters to like give them more mileage? He is developing his characters because he wants a well-rounded story with a large cast of characters that all in their own ways tie into the main theme. That is called storytelling. That is called having a good side character. That is called writing good characters and having a good plot. Your characters can be more than gimmicks. That is not a bad thing. Just because you're a fucking idiot and can't understand that a side character is developed not to pretend to be a main character, but to be that character and do what they contribute to the plot, doesn't make it bad. And the fact that you think it's bad makes you dumb, means you don't know anything about stories, and means that you're just finding reasons to hate something that you clearly don't understand because a fucking manga for children went over your fucking head. And you can't handle that fact, so you're deciding to hate on it because you're too dumb to understand what a fucking side character who's getting development is and what their point is to a story. Holy shit, it's so fucking brain dead from this guy. And it actually, like, I'm actually getting so angry thinking about what he just said because it's so insane and it's so stupid and you should fucking stop making videos if you're gonna say shit like that in them. Oh my god.
It's insane. I can't handle it. Now he's reached full tinfoil hat. Did you know that the Marvel Cinematic Universe develops its characters not because they want developed characters that people will like, but because they just want to waste your time, bro? That's how stories work.
Like, why do they waste time developing Captain Marvel? We all know that Iron Man's gonna beat Thanos anyways. They're just extending the mileage of Captain Marvel.
Vindy, I went to a restaurant to get a meal, and like, you know what? I was tasting it. I was thinking, like, the chef fucking made this meal more like delicious and shit to waste my time.
Dude, why did he make those fries taste so good? Everyone knows I only bought the burger. Like, I don't need the fries to be fucking good. Like, what kind of fucking stupid bullshit are you on? Grow up, learn how fucking stories work.
Vindy, I went into my house and I was sitting there and I was like, why did that door work so well, open up so well? Why does my air conditioning work? You're trying to waste my time, aren't you?
I can't.
What is this man?
I'm gonna blow up, dude. I can't.
What is he?
This is a mistake. I can't be here.
And he just fucking 2 times spat a clip from the anime with subtitles. This man's a joke. This is the meanest EWB. It's because it's the worst video we've watched so far.
Nozaki-kun's main intention as a story is to be a gag comedy. The characters serve little more than different interchangeable components that create different gag scenarios. But isn't that bad writing, you ask? Generally, it would be.
No one thinks that's bad writing. But also, what you're calling bad writing is just a different kind of story. Nisekoi isn't trying to be some gag comedy, and it's not trying to be some dumbass harem where every girl gets a shit ton of figures and dojins. You fucking idiot.
Well, here's another thing.
Nisekoi is a rom-com drama about love and about growing up. And you don't seem to give Nisekoi the same fair shake that you're giving Nozaki-kun, and I wonder why. And I wonder if it's that mouse score, or maybe the fact that Nisekoi went over your head, and you don't fucking like that.
Vindy, there's a little more to this, though.
Okay.
There's the insistence, he keeps saying gag comedy, it's just a gag comedy, as if he's trying to soften the blow of, like, any criticism that he gets, because he thinks for some reason that it being a gag comedy is somehow, like, makes it inferior, right? But but because it has to be better than Nisekoi, that's to elevate it, right? Here's the thing. Komi-san is a gag comedy. Its core is the gags it's doing.
Right.
But what it does with the gags is then allows you to become more attached to these characters, enjoy the story more, so that once it fucking hits you with that scene where she's drawing on the board, talking to the one person who was brave enough to reach out to her, it hits you hard. Like, another series you could argue is arguably is gag centered is Assassination Classroom. There's a lot of fucking gags in that shit, a lot of funny memes, but it attaches you to this classroom and these characters and Koro Sensei and then the moment that it finally hits you with the emotion, it fucks you up. Gag stories are more than just gag stories, and oftentimes most of them are more than just gag stories. They are gag stories because of because of where they lie in the genres, but then you fucking realize that there's more going on. Because I used my brain, you know, I used my eyeballs to read, you know? You couldn't be fucked. You are too lazy. You are stupid and need to stop insulting all of these pieces of media just because you don't understand it.
It's amazing how a manga for children can go over your head.
It's amazing how almost every single piece of media ever can go over this dumbass's head.
Wow, I mean, when you say it like that.
Like, you've said way more meaner things in this entire call, so, like, I don't fucking know what you're talking about.
Dude, I'm in a fucking frenzy. I don't know what I said 5 minutes ago. I'm so angry. I reached my anime power up where my hatred and my anger takes control of me, and I'm no longer in control of my own person, right? Like, this anger inside of me is in control, and so I'm not gonna remember tomorrow any of the shit I said today.
This is fucking hell. This is...
Let's play the video. How long have you been recording for it? It's just been 2 hours. Alright.
But the reason it works here is because it is not born out of laziness, but rather via authorial intent. After all, this is exactly how Nozaki views the world, nothing more than a pool of creativity to draw upon for inspiration for his manga. For an author to write a story about the central character having this outlook, she herself must think that way, at least in some capacity, as it is literally impossible to write a character that you yourself are not, in at least some way.
I'm gonna show another person's video. Watch a video called "You Don't Know the Author, So Shut Up" by Nunmanji, because that's a good ass video where he asserts that you can literally have someone who, like the author, the mangaka behind Pun Pun, write 2 stories that reach entirely different moral conclusions. Do you think the writer behind Silence of the Lambs is a goddamn serial killer?
I'm sorry, I'm out of words to say.
Do you think that anyone who's ever made a World War II story ever about Nazis is a Nazi? Do you? What are you? What are you?
The thing that makes me the angriest about this is that he's saying authorial intent matters to Nozaki-kun, but he's not giving that same fair look into Nisekoi, and he's not giving Nisekoi the same level of respect that he's giving Nozaki-kun. And just that in and of itself, it fills me with so much anger at this piece of shit who thinks he's above Nisekoi. That like, oh well, I'll talk about authorial intent and how authorial intent matter. I'm so angry.
Because, like, authorial intent. You're willing to give Nozaki-kun the benefit of the doubt of authorial intent. Because you said, it's not that they're being lazy, like Komi and Naoshi. They did this on purpose. This man has never written a story in his life. This man doesn't understand how stories are written. This man has never read a single interview from any of the authors or the mangaka. This man has never done anything in his life aside from shit on other people for making their own work.
I don't want to be here anymore. I'm just gonna keep playing the video. I just want to push through.
We're getting close there.
Naturally, the nature of the comedy within the series would then reflect this aspect of the author's worldview and mindset. Which brings me back to Nisekoi. By far the most notable commonality between the stories of these two shows is the constant dodging over the instigation of a relationship between the two main love interests. In other words, the complete lack of romantic progress. So why is it infuriating in Nisekoi but funny in Nozaki-kun? Well, in my opinion, it all goes back to authorial intent behind each series.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it here, and I want you to go off. I don't have the energy anymore.
Hey, dumbass. Hello, it is me, person who actually read Nisekoi, person who is working on his own webcomic right now. Hey, did you know that you might just lack imagination or brain? Because if that's the only thing you can see from this, you might just be a fucking moron.
When I watch any given confession scene in Nisekoi crash and burn before any real progress is made, I see an excuse to either make the viewer think that their girl can still win, or an excuse to keep the show running so the viewer can keep on seeing his waifu.
Like, what do you mean? Like, that's all you see? That's all you see. Because when I see Nozaki-kun, I didn't laugh once. But what I did see was the story attempting to reach closer to a conclusion where these two eventually will just be honest with their own feelings. And the failed confessions are also a joke, but also showing that Shio is refusing to to be honest with her feelings. It's much more comfortable for her to be around Nozaki in this sense. Which, that's actually pretty similar to Onodera, a character who you're writing off. You ever think about that? It's... authorial intent. You can't say authorial intent when you don't even understand the point of the show you're trying to defend, dumbass.
I'm so tilted. This is just... You know what? I'm just gonna say this. It's not like this guy would watch a video criticizing him and somehow this video where we're being very blatant would go over his head. This is maybe the worst YouTube video I've ever seen.
Oh no, it's at least like... Well, you haven't seen the Plague of Naruto video.
It's full of hypocrisy. It's full of intentionally not understanding what you're talking about. Dumbassery. There's typos in the editing. There's editing that just clearly shows that you're wrong. I can't handle it.
He's reading his script like he's has a gun pointed to his head and has to get this done before the deadline. Almost like he's being lazy and can't retake the line.
I could make a better Nisekoi versus Nozaki-kun video comparing the two.
You probably could in shorter amount of time too, without even scripting it.
Yeah. This isn't like, this guy's so stupid and so I just can't handle it.
When I was watching Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun, I knew immediately that Sakura and Nozaki would never get together because of how clearly this intention was telegraphed via the opening scene. I mean, Sakura literally confesses in full force, twice in the episode mind you, and gets an autograph both times for her efforts. Yet all of this is justified in-universe due to how well Nozaki's character is established with these confessions, while also remaining consistent throughout the entire series.
So, here's something interesting. Maybe this guy really does sympathize with Nozaki, because one of the defining characteristics of Nozaki is that he doesn't understand people. He doesn't understand social cues. He doesn't understand when people are talking.
If you're call this man autistic, just come out and say
No. I'm not gonna say that. You said it, not me. One of the defining things is that he doesn't understand people. Shown by the fact that the only reason he's ever able to write any of these things is because he's literally just showing what's happening with his friends around him in order to make his characters work. His characters are literally just the interactions he has between his friends around him. I mean, that's part of the comedy. I don't know if you noticed this, but the man doesn't understand social cues. So if someone tells him that they're his fan, what do you think he's gonna think? Do you think he's gonna say, "Hey, wow, you want to suck my dick? Epic." Or do you think he's gonna go, "Huh, I have a fan? Autograph." Did you watch the show? I'm being honest. Did you watch the show? Where they literally say the point of it? Did you watch it? Can you read? Does your brain work?
I can't. I love how in his thing he even says, like, he shows both times her saying, "I'm your fan," not saying "I'm in love with you."
I'm thoroughly
saying "I'm your fan." The reason she says that intentionally, she uses those words and gets an autograph, is because he thinks he makes it. It's also clear that he doesn't think she loves him. He thinks she's a fan of his manga, and those are two very different things. And if you can't understand that, it's clear throughout the course of this video that you don't know how to do narrative analysis.
Episode 12 literally has her be like, "I confessed to him before," and then her friends go, "Did you really?" And then she thinks for a second and then goes, "Oh wait, no, I didn't. I just said I was his fan." And they call her stupid. And you said something interesting. You said, I knew from the beginning that they would never get together. I guess you don't know fucking anything.
You know what I knew from the beginning?
What?
This video wasn't good.
Oh, I knew that from just the fucking title.
Alright.
Play the video. Fuck, kill this. Come on.
This is in stark contrast to how in Nisekoi, the thing that stops the confession from taking full effect is usually some deus ex machina device that has little or nothing to do with the scene. Furthermore, the confession scenes in Nisekoi are always like 1 second away from inciting the relationship, while the ones in Nozaki-kun are doomed before they even start simply due to how dense Nozaki is.
That's the point of Nisekoi and Onodera's character arc.
Hey, Vindy.
If she had more confidence in herself from the beginning, she could have ended up with Raku. But that relationship wouldn't have worked because the two of them don't work together. Raku didn't have the confidence either. But you know who did? Chitoge.
Hey, Vindy.
Chitoge and Raku complete each other. That's why the confessions never happened. That's why the confessions never worked. That's the entire conceit of the story.
Hey, Vindy.
Yes.
Do you remember that one time when Onodera and Raku were about to do the test of courage, and they were holding hands? They were literally like ready for everything, and Onodera was super happy about it. But then the moment that Raku heard that Chitoge was in trouble, he let the fuck go of her hand and ran into the forest. While Onodera didn't even hold on to it. She's kind of like reached her hand out weakly and was like, "Oh, too bad." Mm-hmm. Do you remember that time immediately after her confession failed that she said, "I'm more comfortable where I am right now"? Mm-hmm. Do you think this man ever read in his life?
I don't think he. I do think he's probably watched it. I just don't think he knows how to look at what a story's doing.
Well,
I think it's clear from how he talks about Nozaki and how he talks about Nisekoi. He doesn't understand what narrative intent and narrative purpose are.
I'm coming to understand he doesn't understand a lot of things. just in
and
general.
it makes it infuriating because he's saying these things about the stories in these manga, and he's blatantly missing the entire purpose behind everything, and it's.
So, A Sleepy Insomniac. I'm gonna teach you some things. We're gonna go back a little bit because I want to teach you some things about the Japanese language. If you're going to use the defense of translations, so usually during confession scenes, girls will say "aishiteru" or "daisuki" or "suki desu" or "I want to be your koibito," which means be your lover. You know what she said in that scene? She said, "Ore wa watashi wa fan desu." Fan translating to fan, meaning fan of you, as in like a MCU fan or a baseball fan or a manga fan. So notice how those words aren't the same thing. When I get married, that pastor, that homie's gonna be like,
well, if you're
I now pronounce you fan and fan.
I would say if the girl you're married doesn't go "watashi wa fan desu," and she's not an idol who you go "watashi wa fan desu," I think that y'all just wouldn't even be real. Like that's what you need, someone who actually can stomach your content and would be a fan of it.
Unfortunate, so, bro.
One person
don't insult me in this video, dude. Don't be like that. Don't be mean.
I'm not insulting you. The anger inside me is insulting you.
You know what? It's funny. I think this man, his only experience is his fucking body pillow. He's like, do you love me? And then he plays that scene from Nozaki-kun where she says, I'll be your fan. He's like, yes, I don't know what you fucking said, but yeah, I agree with that. You said you love me. I've seen so many videos of like people proposing to their significant others saying, I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah.
So many. Infinite numbers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Learn the English language, dumb fuck.
2.
It's like Nisekoi's dangling $1 in front of you, while Nozaki-kun is simply laughing at you for thinking that there is $1 in the first place. Nisekoi just feels a little bit more manipulative, and no amount of good production design can prevent the sensation of being cheated from being infuriating.
If you think Nisekoi is manipulating you to be upset, that's a personal problem, and that's not the actual
Hey, Vindy.
authorial intent of the series.
Hey, Vindy.
Yes.
I have a theory. So do you think, like,
he likes Marika the most, and he's upset Marika isn't going to win? Yes.
No. So do you think this guy, right, he opens up a book, and then sometimes, like, he'll tell you turn the next page, and he turns the page, he's like, hold on. I was just manipulated by the fiction to turn the page. This book's manipulative. Therefore, it's bad.
You know what? I'm manipulative.
Sometimes I think, like, if there's a sign on the door that says exit only, and then he doesn't open the door, he turns around and he's like, hold on. That door was manipulating me. This is manipulation. This is bad. I don't like the $1. Like, here's the thing, right? One of them is laughing at you because you don't even understand the difference between I'm a fan and I love you. Mm-hmm. They're both, listen, A Sleepy Insomniac. There is no one person dangling $1 and one person laughing at you for think there's $1 there. There's 2 people holding dollars in front of your face and laughing at you because you're confused there's $1. That's what's happening.
You said anything better than I ever could have.
Nozaki-kun, on the other hand, is simply taking this trope into consideration and playing up its ridiculousness as much as possible. And if you couldn't read that this was the intention in the first place, you were going to be let down because you were expecting a different show from what Nozaki-kun was trying to be.
Arcata is a smarter man than you will ever be in your entire life. We've talked to him. We can confirm.
I can confirm that.
Also,
Arcata's a Chad.
He wasn't expecting a different show. He was dissatisfied with the results of it, which is fair to be dissatisfied with the results of the show. He's stupid for thinking it would go anywhere, but he's right in thinking that is a romance series. Because you know something about Arcata that's interesting to me is that he's watched more than one romance series. And he, as well as I, could tell that that Nozaki-kun is very clearly going for an endgame. Eventually. He just was dumb enough to think it was going to be.
You know what I think? I think that Nozaki is a really simple story. It's a girl who said that she was his fan, and just said she loved him, and that it's just being dragged out because it's in Gangan Online, and they want their online manga to continue, so it's being dragged out longer than it could have been.
Meanwhile, Nisekoi's story is just like, you're expecting something from it, but that's not what it's trying to do because of the authorial intent. And maybe you should just, maybe because of your thoughts and your own ideas what it should be, are blinding you from what it's actually going for.
Yes.
Man, it's almost like, you know, he's a fucking idiot and his words were fucking be flipped-flopped wherever he fucking want because he's not saying anything. I hate this video.
Where you came up with that conclusion.
I hate this fucking video.
Alright, we're gonna watch the rest of the video in one go.
Yeah, ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Thanks for watching the video. By the way, we hit 300 subs, and I'm still not going to do anything about it. But here's an idea. I've been recently watching a lot of the first seasons of a bunch of shows that Studio Bones has made, and I was wondering if you guys would be interested if I did a series covering all of the second seasons of these and comparing them to the first seasons. Kind of like Ego Raptor's Sequelitis, but with anime. If you're interested, let me know in the comments, and if you're not, don't do anything. And it will never be made if no one wants it. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.
Here's what's funny about that. He only watched the first seasons of these Bone shows, but they never fucked around and watched the second one, even though it's super easy on any other streaming platform. You can literally just go on it, and it gives you second season immediately.
I want to die.
That's the worst video. Okay, aside from the Plague Rights video, there's like 5 videos I would consider like some of the worst on all of AniTube. This is one of them. This is like top 3 at least.
Tell me the other ones. Let's go.
One of those like Plague Gripes Naruto video because that one gave me AIDS. Another one I decided I'd stop talking about it, so I'm not gonna say it. See, it's so hard because there's just so many bad videos in YouTube, and they're all from like people with like sub 5,000 subscribers. It's insane, actually.
I mean, have you guys noticed how like we haven't talked about Digibro on this series, or we haven't talked about Arcada? Because sure, they can be head asses, but they aren't this. Because at the end of the day, Digibro and Arcada are smarter people than a lot of these AniTubers are. And they know at least how to formulate their opinions to be less disagreeable than something like this where they will say things that are just flat out wrong. Can Digi have head-ass opinions sometimes? Yes.
Yes, there's
Can
a video
Arcada
called
have
We've Accepted Mediocrity.
Opinions sometimes? Yes. Are Digi and Arcada generally just objectively wrong with what they say? No.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes, but not as often as this video, and not as many times in one video for sure as this one video.
How many times have we paused, actually? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 times. That's probably the most we've ever paused in any EWB. There's a helicopter outside my house.
Hot.
Here's how I know factually that this man still believes everything he's saying. It was announced that Bokuben's ending was going to shit. So he has this thread of like he's just shit, and like he calls Bokuben Nisekoi 2.0, right? Because Onga Boku the ending bad. And then he's just you know the implications of that because it's running Shonen Jump or something like that. Because he believes that everything in Shonen Jump is just for some reason inherently inferior.
Mm-hmm. Because it is, yes.
Oh, okay. My bad. Fucked up a little bit. He also says something interesting. He has this weird thread. That's super weird. Dogokobo Wadaten, it speaks volumes about the industry that we will never get a season 2 of Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun because it makes for more financial sense for Dogokobo to make a show about a pedophile under the pretenses of it. He can't even fucking speak English. None of this is like fucking grammatically correct. It all being because kids are cute. Wataten's not about that. Wataten's more so about the fact that Miyako's a fucking spurg, and like these people, these like, and like interacting with like these kids like gave her like the ability to walk out and be a more functional person. And like in the process, she also like talks to the Matsumoto, who also was just being a spurg instead of actually talking to people.
I also don't understand this image he made because Gabriel Dropout came out after New Game Season 1 did.
There's just... Why did he have Gabriel Dropout if his point's Unga Bunga pedophilia if there are more lollies in Gabriel Dropout, legally speaking, than there are in New Game, where they're all legal adults?
And also, they're more sexualized in Gabriel Dropout New Game than they are in Umaru or Wataten.
There's barely any. There's like maybe like one sexualized scene in Wataten, and it's of like the adult characters.
Yes. All right, let's end this, I think, with the comments we left on this video.
Because we said everything about this video. This video is garbage. Here's the thing. I went and watched the other videos on this guy's channel. They're all like this. Every single one. Believe it or not, every single video is just like this one. I have not seen a video he has made that is not this level of quality, or like, or like I haven't seen. Oh, then again, I don't want to finish any of his videos. I haven't seen his terrible video where he proclaims that for some reason Bunny Girl Senpai has everything wrong with anime, when that's just not true. I remember watching that video, and he thinks that because the title is misleading, that's everything wrong with it. That's one of the things that's everything wrong with anime. The title being Rascal Thinks a Bunny Girl Senpai isn't and then the show's not entirely about the bunny girl. He thinks that's like showing everything wrong with anime.
Right.
You have to be stupid to think something like that.
Well, thankfully he is.
Well, anyway, read yours first or mine? Because mine's from 2 years ago.
No, read yours first.
All right, so mine...
Actually, no, we'll read mine first because mine's more serious.
Yeah.
So I wrote, this is easily one of the most misinformed and just plain objectively wrong videos on anything on YouTube. I would have more faith in a video about how the earth is flat than anything you see on Nisekoi, since you somehow seem to have a Ruri avatar and seem to blatantly miss the point, as well as disrespect Naoshi Komi by not realizing the point in what he's doing and assuming you know. Wild how a manga made for literal children can go over your head, but I guess that's how it be sometimes.
You were about to say like boys, but we were like, no, make it look stupid, make it funnier. Say literal children. Authorial intent make me go grr when read False Love by Naoshi Komi of Shonen Jump.
Oh yeah, that was yours.
No.
Okay, you should.
Mine is.
Yeah, that was your reply to mine. But
here's mine, from 2 years ago when this video first came out, because I remember catching it 2 years ago on my timeline and being like, holy shit, I'm gonna kill myself. Part of the reason why my Nisekoi video was made because of this video. So, yes. This is actually before I'd even seen Nozaki-kun, actually, so I call it a shoujo series, which should show a lot about, like, whatever. Yes, let us compare this long-running shonen romance manga about false love, deception, and being true to your feelings to a fucking shoujo 4-koma gag manga that's meant to parody romance tropes at the expense of the main girl. Yes, yes. And then the Kage Pro left a pretty good reply. Yeah, really. I like Nozaki better, but comparing the two like this is comparing Idolmaster to Love Live just because they're both idol shows.
I say we end the video.
Yeah, I just can't fucking take this shit anymore.
Thank you guys for watching this EWB.
I am tired.
If you're somehow stuck through this whole thing, A Sleepy Insomniac, if you ever watch it, which I don't think you would, because I don't think you would like the criticism, don't take the rudeness personally. Just maybe try a little bit harder next time.
Yeah, because I know people who are friends with him on in AnyTube that used to be friends with me, and I know that they're gonna see this, and you're gonna one of them's gonna fucking send it to him, which will be unfortunate.
Fine.
Also, once again, if you have any videos you want us to watch, you can comment it down below. Tell us what you think, of course, what you think of this EWB, but also, if you want us to watch a video a very good way is to go on
Patron us.
Patreon and make us watch it. Somebody Mega Graphics just DM'd us on Patreon to make us do a fucking One Piece character tier list. So that's
No. I already told Craftstar if we're not doing that. It's 600 things long. Have self-respect. Don't send us a 2-hour long video and be like, do an EWB on this, because this EWB is like 2 hours long on an 8-minute video. So have some level of modicum and respect for our time. We don't do this. We don't get enough out of this to be able to put in, like, physically be able to put in, you know, the amount of time to talk about it in an hour-long YouTube video.
Yeah.
But maybe if everyone who watches this patrons us, we would be able to.
wow.
We'll have to think like that, but
Yeah, but yeah, it's just yeah, because the video's only 8 minutes long. We made a fucking how long we been recording? Jesus Christ, 2 hours and 22 minutes.
yeah, but I had to get dinner, so it's probably like 2:15 at this point.
Yeah, I'm unlucky.
It is unlucky.
Well, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go kill myself.
Me fucking too.
Goodbye.